It's Free Concert Friday. This is the YouTube version now. I'm not as stressed as I was on Facebook. It's just for today. It's not going to be something that's going to be too long. We have a song, which is normally one song, either a dancehall or reggae song. And then we will also do some words of wisdom. And my words of wisdom come from the Bible. And I have, it's a really cute, it's my daughter's Bible. It's her Bible. So it's really simple to understand. And it's fun to look at the pictures. So I'm going to be reading from this today. And the song I would like to sing is, I grew up in the Bahamas. I'm still in the Bahamas now. But in the Bahamas, we love Jamaican music. In the Bahamas, we love dancehall music. And so I grew up on Jamaican music, dancehall music. And an international reggae legend is Bob Marley. So I'm going to sing one of his songs today. My favorite song from him, I would have to say, is probably Waiting in Vain. And the song I'm singing today is Redemption Song. And like I said, I grew up in the Bahamas. One of my father's favorite reggae artists is Bob Marley. I remember for one Christmas I bought him a Legends of Bob Marley and the CD, and he played it so much and I played it so much that it started to get scratches on it. Wow, now that I'm thinking about it, I grew up on CDs and CD players, and you can't even find CDs nowadays. It's crazy. Everything is online and streamed and whatnot. Okay, so the story I'm going to read today is called A Good Man. It's Job 1. Job lived in the days of Abraham. He was wealthy, but was not boastful or selfish. He worshipped God and obeyed all his laws, and God was pleased with him. One day, Satan said, "It's easy for Job to be good when things are going so well. I bet if life got hard, he would change his tune." And God agreed that Satan could test Job's faith. One day, shortly after this, when Job's children were all feasting at his eldest son's house, a messenger came running up in a dreadful state to tell Job that all his cattle had been stolen. He had hardly finished speaking when another servant came to him to tell him that a ball of fire had fallen from the sky and burned up all the sheep, but the worst was yet to come. For now another servant came to tell Job that all his children had been killed when a mighty wind from the desert had struck his son's house, and it had collapsed, killing all inside. Job tore his hair and clothes and sank to the ground in sorrow. But he said, "Everything I have was given to me by God. What he has given, he can take away. I still praise his name." Job had passed the first test. Let me tell you something that I think is a word of wisdom from this book. And for a long time, I was very upset about this Job, because the fact that this good man, he was bragged about by God, but experienced so much suffering and so much loss. It's unimaginable what he lost. He had literally lost everything except his health. He had literally lost everything. Every pain that a human can feel, he felt. To lose someone close to him like that, the only person he didn't lose was his wife. And the only other thing that didn't happen to him yet was that his life, the only thing that didn't happen to him was that his life wasn't taken. And the only thing that didn't happen to him at this point in time in the story was that his body was still intact, so he still had his health. So Job is a good one. I'm going to read the second part of it. That's just Job 1. This is the second test. This is basically a summary of the rest of the book. Okay, so we have Satan went back to God. That's all very well, he said. But it would be a different story if Job himself had to suffer. Now notice it wasn't enough for the enemy to take away, the devil to take away all that he had taken away already. As if he has something to prove to God, which obviously he's trying to prove. He's trying to prove that this man that God is bragging on, God who knows all things, because the devil doesn't know that. The devil didn't know that Job's heart belonged to God. The devil didn't know that Job feared God more than he feared his life itself. He feared God with everything in him. But the devil didn't know that. So he kept pressuring. He went back to God, not pressuring God, but he went back to God and he said, I bet if you take away his health. But it would be a different story if Job himself had to suffer. Because what he's saying now is, oh, Job didn't suffer because Job didn't die. All of his cattle is gone, all his wealth and his money is gone, but Job is still healthy. So if you take away Job's health, then let's see, God agreed that he could test him again. And the very next day, Job woke up covered in boils from head to toe. They stung and itched so much that all he could do was sit in a corner with a broken piece of pottery and use it to scrape his skin. When his wife asked why he wasn't cursing God, Job replied, if we take all the good things God sends, then we should take the bad things too. So even Job in this moment recognizes that God is in control, even though it's the bad. Job's friends came to see him. You must have done something very wrong for God to be punishing you like this. They said, tell him you are sorry and ask for forgiveness. They were trying to help, but they only made it worse. Job knew he hadn't done anything wrong, but their words troubled him. At last he broke out in frustration. Curse the day that I was born. It would have been better to have died. Then I wouldn't have to suffer like this. Oh God, what have I done to make you so angry with me? How can you do this to me? Well, this is just, that wasn't the full book. That was just Job, the second chapter to the 31st. That was a summary of it. A summary, not the details. We're going to continue with Job because this is my favorite. Now this is my favorite story in the Bible because I think that I could resonate with Job at this point in time in my life. And not to say that I'm an upstanding person, but I could understand the pain of doing what's good and always being persecuted for it. I'm not saying that I'm this upstanding person that God can brag on, but I'm saying that it hurts. There is a different pain that you feel when you are doing what is right and you're doing what God says and you're hated for it. It's a different pain than when you know that you hurt someone or you know that you did something wrong and that's coming, the consequences are coming back to you. That's what I'm trying to say. So this is Job 32 to 42, the last statement. God talks to Job. Another of Job's friends said, I kept quiet until now because I am younger, and I thought you would all be wiser than me. This is a powerful statement also, because wisdom doesn't always come with age. Experience comes with age. Because remember, Solomon in the Bible, Solomon was, outside of Jesus Christ, the wisest man that walked the earth and probably the wealthiest. I would have to double check that in the Bible. I'm sure it's in the Bible if he was the wealthiest, but Job was also wealthy. So I am younger and I thought you would all be wiser than me. But wisdom clearly comes from God, yes. And the reason why Solomon was wise is not because he had experienced life and not because of his age, but because of God. And remember, anyone who is watching this, whatever age you're at, ask God for wisdom. He will give it to you. And he will give it to you in full supply. Just ask. Always remember that God wants good things for you. There is nothing that God withholds from those that he loves. He already showed you that he loved you because he sent, according to my Bible and what I believe, he sent Jesus Christ, his only son, the begotten Son of God, the Father, to die for you, even though you hated him. It's not your fault that you hated him, but we were all born in sin. So the fact that God has already proven to you, he shouldn't have to keep telling you over and over and over again. It's just up to you to receive that. His love is always available for you to receive. So I am younger and I thought we would all be wiser than me, but wisdom clearly comes from God, not from old age. Job, you have no right to criticize God. Think of how great and powerful he is. You cannot begin to understand his ways. God is always just and merciful. Think of all the wonderful things he has done. Just then a dreadful storm began to rage. Lightning filled the sky and thunder filled their ears. Then out of the storm came the voice of God. Job, who are you to question me? Were you there when I made the world? Can you command the day to dawn or the rain to fall on the land? How can you dare to question my wisdom? Then Job was ashamed. O Lord, he said, I am foolish and ignorant. Please forgive me. God was pleased with Job. He healed him and blessed the last part of his life even more than the first. Job had many more children and lived happily for many more years. And that's the summation of 42 chapters of Job. Like I said, this is the children's version, which is understandable because we're not going to read the whole thing anyways. So, let's sing a song. Dum ba dum 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 da dum da da dum da da dum dum da dum 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 da dum da da dum da dum. That's the horn outside. All pirates just stare by, sold I to the merchant ship. Each day to death or die, from the bottomless pit, when my head was made strong by the hands of the Almighty. Bring forward in this generation, triumphantly, won't you hear me say? These songs of freedom is all I ever am. Redemption song.